So I don't know how many times this happens to you, but I get bombarded with, these what seem to be really greatly edited videos. Something like how to manage your time like a CEO. And it sounds really good. But how do you know? Like, here's my issue with a lot of these is that, like, how do you know that the message is actually good for you? Because on the surface, how to manage your time like a CEO is a really clever hook because you're like, as a business owner, who wouldn't want to manage their time
as a CEO? Yeah.
Like a CEO, right? Oh, there's going to be something really cool in here.
Yeah.
And what happens is you get a really mediocre message wrapped in some, fancy editing with all these backgrounds, which we don't have, right? Because we're more about the message. And so today is really about boiling down the most important message and the framework of, like, how do you think about these things? Because on the surface, how to manage your time like a CEO sounds really good. But I think it's actually, and we've just talked about this, is it's really about energy management. And how you manage your energy is way more important than the time management, because your energy level and your energy has a direct proportion on how, like, your motivation, how you feel about doing things, how quickly you're going to be able to do things, and that part of it.
Yeah.
So we can dive into that, but more specifically, like, what is that? What is the major thing behind energy management, and how do you use that in the most effective way?
Yeah.
So let's get into it.
With that, we're back with another episode of BizMeds. We're your neuroscience business coaches and your host for the show. My name is Saad.
And my name is Darius, and we are here to give you the minimum effective dose of how to scale your business, and more importantly, how to scale your biology to scale your business. So this isn't about fancy gimmicks or fads and things like that. This is about the most important things that you need to scale your business, and these are brought to you from real lessons scaling a business from $30 million in under 18 months. So this is no fluff, no BS business advice to help you scale, and it's the minimum effective dose. So we're not going to really care about your feelings. We care about your success.
Yep.
And so with that, we're going to dive into our topic a little bit more and expand on it a little bit more as we go through this. And at the end of it, I think you have a really good understanding of, one, probably
what to do differently.
What to do differently. Yeah. I think you'll think when you look at video titles like how to manage your time like a CEO, like, hopefully you're more critical with your thinking around a topic like that, and not get caught up in flashy edits that, the packaging kind of makes the content seem more valuable than it really is, because at the end of the day, you have to really think about and have a really good mental framework for deciphering, is this actually helpful or not?
Yeah, exactly. We were actually talking about this last week, Tuesday, when I brought up that I've been reading this book called Dare to Lead.
Yes.
And how in that book, the author is talking about how you need to understand, like, where your team's strengths are so they can easily get into flow. And just, like, brushes over it.
Yeah.
But how do you identify, like, when you're not getting into flow? You can't just brush over such a big thing. If your team is going to be successful, they need to be able to get into flow. But you're just grazing over that fact and just hoping that people figure out what flow means.
Yeah. And that's that whole energy management, because, we'll jump ahead and really the key thing is about getting into flow. It's not about manage your time like a CEO. If you because at every stage you have the same competing demands. It's people, it's problems, there's challenges, there's decisions. Like, it's the same things, just at different scales. Yeah. So you always have a competing draws and distractions on your time and your attention and your focus. And it's really about focus and attention management and the energy that goes into that, because once you're able to do that, flow follows focus. Yeah. So it doesn't really matter how you manage your time, because if you manage your time on really unimportant stuff, great. You're just really great at organizing bullshit. Cool. That doesn't actually tell you how to be a great CEO. It doesn't tell you how, when you start off, or if you're, mid-level and you're doing a couple million, few million, 10 million versus a couple $100 million to $1 billion, like, what the difference is, because it's all really around what you're doing with the time that you have available. and how you use that time to manage your energy, your focus, and your attention. Like that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
And it's all about building the skill of getting into flow.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that condenses time frames.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why I just have this like really, like it's really just stuck with me. It's bothered me, like seeing this one video. And I think it more just reminds me that there's just a pervasive, like there's an ongoing just bullshit of wrong information out there that's packaged really good. And then people buy it and they're like, oh, this, you know, it plays to our emotional side and it looks really good when you see all these edits and flashy animations. I'm like,
well, it comes down to what we've talked about before, how it sounds like the silver bullet.
yes.
Right? Like it sounds like this one thing is just going to solve my entire problems. And now I'm going to be able to be a very successful CEO. But all of that still is just grazing over the fact that you're not utilizing your energy in the right ways.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't even touch, like, yes, we talk about flow state, but we also are very clear that you can use flow for very positive things and condense timeframes to scale your business, or you can get into flow and do some things that are really not helpful to scaling your business.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's how do you navigate that?
Before you move on, remember I was very irked about this video where this person was cooking and they were like, yeah, I'm in flow now. And I'm like cooking the best meal ever. And I was like,
it's the bandwagon thing, right? People jump on and so that's why I think it was really, I mean, that's why this fucking video bothers me so much, is because it's just bullshit. It's just fluff. It's all it is. As I was watching, I was like, wow, this is no different than any other one to kind of talking about time management bullshit. And that's why we've never been about time management. It's we use time as a tool, time as a gauge, time as a condensing factor, but it's not like, oh, we're gonna, manage your time like a CEO. No, we're gonna teach you how to manage your fucking time like a superstar, like Alex Hormozy or Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk. Like the people who have the same 24 hours in a day, it's not about, oh, I manage my time differently. No, it's about the focus and the energy they put onto those things. But here's the kicker, is none of that actually matters if you can't get into flow.
exactly.
And so the real heart of the message today is, how do you, like, more often than not, you're keeping yourself from getting into flow.
Yeah, how you're preventing yourself from.
Without really knowing it, because that is even at the desire, or I want to get into flow. And you can want to get into flow all you want, and you can have all of the triggers, all the things that are going to help you get into flow. You can have them all lined up and operating at maximum benefit. But if you're not dealing with flow blockers, the things that are preventing you from getting into flow, you'll never get into flow.
Yeah.
And really, that's the crux of today's conversation.
Okay.
So we'll go through, and for those, if you're just hearing about this for the first time, there are, and the list changes as a little bit as kind of more research comes out, but it's really been boiled down to about 10, and there's some bleed over between the two, and that's okay. But we'll list the 10, and then what we'll do is talk a little bit about each one, why that's important, and then more importantly, what's a really quick way you can diagnose what your number one flow blocker is. And then we'll use a very quick example of how do I take this and then apply it to say, okay, well, how would I deal with this flow blocker? And we'll pick on one of them. And that way you can start to develop a little bit better understanding of, well, how do I, first of all, identify which blocker is most active in my life?
Yeah.
What is one way I could potentially attack one of them? And then, okay, now systematically going through that, now you're set up to have a life that's more prone to getting into flow. How does that sound today?
That sounds great.
I mean, we're already like halfway through.
Yeah.
As we're getting to it. But I think all of that is very important context to build up to this, because it's like, as you see from our setup here, we don't have flashy animations. We don't do anything crazy, because it's all about the message, because the message is the most important thing. I couldn't care less if you like the way my haircut looks, if the fact that we only wear 2-color shirts now and don't really vary anything. Like, the most dramatic thing we've added is some lighting to the background. That's it. So, and we really don't care because, again, we don't care about your feelings. We don't care about how you feel about us. We care about the message and the fact that we're here to help you scale your business. So with that, flow blockers, we'll just kind of run through the list back and forth. These aren't in any order of importance. So let's just clarify that right now. That's just, here's the 10, because for each person, each one will be different. Like the number one will be for different reasons. So there's not the top 10, this is always the number one and most pervasive. It'll be different for each person. And that's where, the context of each person's situation is different. So no one, not the number one, but just one is mindset.
Yeah.
So that could be whether it's learner or fixed mindset, right? How we how we view learning. Are we open to learning? Are we closed to learning? In order to get into flow, you actually have to have a learner mindset. You have to be open, engaged, and willing to kind of expand your belief system a little bit. So if you're closed off, then it's going to be much harder to get into flow.
Yeah. Next one is clarity. And we've talked about that several times. It's not knowing what you're working towards. And if you, for example, are just looking to scale your business with no exact goal in mind, it's too obscure. You're not gonna be successful. You need to focus on a constraint.
Yep.
Go back to watch our constraint video, probably 5 weeks ago. Roughly.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Lose track of them.
Yeah. So clarity.
Yes. Distraction. I mean, this is probably, this is probably the one that kind of is, you see very happening everywhere. That's external distractions. So whether it's notifications on your phone, whether it's email, Slack, or whatever messaging app you have, but it's also internal distractions. So what kind of things are going on in your head, or how you kind of bright, shiny object and switching all the time. That plays a big role. So that distraction level will definitely keep you from getting into flow.
Yeah. Motivation is another one. Not having the drive or the energy. Again, we're talking a lot about energy today. Not having the energy to focus or work towards your goal.
Yeah.
Not having that internal grit to move towards your goal.
Yeah. Burnout is another one. I think that the term has become more and more, we hear a lot more about it nowadays than we did in the past, right? It was kind of like this really weird term, what is burnout? And it's different than other things. But that's you'll know kind of when you're oh yeah, I'm burned out. What burnout is, right? Versus I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Burnout is a very different type of mental drain and mental state than saying just being exhausted.
Yeah. Time is another one. So I know we're talking about how this is not really a time management tool, but it's time management is the product of doing all of these things properly.
Yeah.
So if you allocate 30 minutes to trying to, again, focus on your business, it's not enough time. You cannot even get going into the right areas. So allocating appropriate amount of time and, really spacing it out so that you have the ability to focus on the things you need to focus on.
We go to the next one is exhaustion. So that's where it's saying some of these have bleed over because it could be, they're skirting on the edges of each other. So whether it's burnout, exhaustion, I think if you're exhausted, you probably have low motivation. You're oh my God, you talk about energy levels and things like that, right? And therefore I don't feel motivated. And so at the end of this, when we kind of go through that, you'll be able to kind of more identify, what is the most relevant one, and start chipping away at those, because one will kind of bleed. There'll probably 3 or 4 that kind of bleed together a little bit, and this will kind of prioritize them. But that whole exhaustion is, it could be physical, mental, emotional exhaustion. It doesn't really, we're not really discriminating on what it is. It's just that type of exhaustion will prevent you from getting into flow.
Exactly.
Because we go to the flow cycle when we're struggle, release, flow, and then recovery. Recovery is a really important part, not only because does it help you recharge and replenish your neurochemicals, it also helps prevent and ward off exhaustion.
Yeah. Yep.
right? So the physical and mental exhaustion that comes along with that after exerting a lot of power or a lot of energy output, you have to recover. And we, even before we go into a 1 month day, like we say, you're going in fully recovered. You can't be exhausted. You can't be sick and all that stuff because though that will block you from getting into flow.
Yeah. And that one's perfectly coupled with the stress as well. So physical, mental, emotional stress.
Take it, whichever one, right?
Exactly, right? So and if you aren't, to your point, like relaxed, rested, you're not going to be successful because it's just constantly keep going to pile up. And then it's going to lead you to exhaustion, and it's going to lead you into burnout. So
high cognitive load with stress, again, massive flow blocker.
100%.
And then that's where, we talk about, again, the bleed is probably very related to overwhelm. So there's times where the stress, exhaustion, burnout, overwhelm, like things just feel too big, right? It's clear. It had the clarity. If you don't have the clarity, you maybe go into overwhelm because I'm trying to do this thing. I'm trying to scale my business, but I don't know how. And you're pushed into the overwhelm mode because you kind of don't know what to do. And that then, again, another blocker to prevent you from getting into flow. So like we said before, you could have all the triggers, which we'll go into another episode, but you could have all the triggers. But if you're not dealing with the blockers, it's always going to stop you dead before you get in.
Exactly. Yeah. And last one, but not the least important one, it is the self-sabotage one.
Yeah.
This one, again, coupled with all of the other ones, you will just naturally get to a point where you feel like you just can't do it and you don't have the faith in yourself, and you kind of go down this rabbit hole of like, well, I'm not worth it. I'm not better than Jeff Bezos. I don't know how they're doing it. I don't know how Alex Hormozi crushes out the work that he does. Yeah. So you kind of subtly start instilling it in yourself that you are not the right guy to be doing this.
Whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. And that's just, it's on this reinforce. It just becomes more and more kind of drilled into you. Yeah. So of those, we've just covered 10. So just quickly, so you don't have to go back and listen to it. Mindset, clarity, distraction, motivation, burnout, time, exhaustion, stress, overwhelm, self-sabotage. So this is where now we will say, now that we've given you a little bit of, just a little hint of what each of those are, the exercise for you listening or watching this is to now just write out those 10. Write them all out in a list. I don't care how you do it, side by side, all one big list. And what you want to do is just now rank them 1 to 10. 1 being the one that you resonate most with. Don't overthink it, but it's just, you'll say, oh, this is the one. Okay, number 1. And then say, okay, then start with number 10 saying, okay, what's the one I just really doesn't show up on my radar? It's like kind of the least of all of them. That's number 10. And then just start going through.
Yeah.
But even going through that 1 and 10, you have a very clear indication of, oh, here's probably my primary flow blocker.
Yeah.
How do I deal with that?
Yeah.
So let's pick on one of them. And I'm going to pick on stress because why not? Mm-hmm. So with that exercise is now, like, what is the actual thing that you can do to start to address the flow blocker of stress? Well, I would say, like, you can use the Stoic stress management or stress reduction playbook, we call it, right? So using the Stoic approach, operating system and the playbook for helping to reduce stress. And this is where you just, again, take another sheet of paper or your iPad, whatever you're doing, and write out all the things, the biggest things that are causing you stress in your life, right? That's step 1. Just write all of those. Don't overthink it. Don't try to, wordsmith it. It doesn't really matter because this is for you. You know what it is, right? You don't have to become Shakespeare when writing this. Just get it down, get it dirty, like whatever. Yeah. That's the number 1 step, is just write all the biggest stressors there.
Yeah. Quickly just hopping in there. We've done this exercise with a few people, and typically there's a little bit of ego involved in there where they don't want to list out those things because they're like, oh yeah, I'm tough. I can figure this out. Like, this is not a problem. So this is an exercise where you actually have to be a little vulnerable with yourself and really, really be open. So
be objective, be vulnerable, and just like, again, what you put into it determines what you'll get out of it.
Yeah.
So,
and if you don't want anybody to see your weaknesses or your flaws, just burn the list after.
no, if it's on your iPad, just delete the page.
burn the iPad.
Burn the boats. Okay, so we've listed them all out. Now, the next two steps are related. And the next step is now you go through that list and just make a note of, or however you want to mark it, doesn't really matter. Again, don't overthink this. It's what are the things in there that even if it takes a lot of effort, you would have control over that thing. Mm-hmm. That's the first step. And then the next part of that is what are all the things in there that you actually have zero control over? Mm-hmm. So now you have the major list. You've now broken it. You've identified which ones, even if it takes a lot of effort or energy, you would be able to exert some control in that. And then you have all the things that you have no control over. So the Stoic part of this playbook is, okay, well, we control the things that we can control and we don't worry about the things that we can't control. Okay. So the list that we can't control, we're not going to focus on that. Those are the things that we're just going to cross the line to them. I have no control over that. Accept the fact that you have no control on that. Mm-hmm. Well, what you do have is you have the ability to control the things you can control. And now you can prioritize the list of things that are left over and start executing on those to help reduce stress. And what is it that I can do in this to help reduce this? And just prioritize. What's the biggest one that you need to tackle? Same kind of idea, right? Prioritize them, one through whatever it is, start attacking them. And then regaining that control, retaking your power back will help kind of just then provide additional energy, motivation, put some more fire back in your furnace to keep you going. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the steps to be able to, and we just picked on one because obviously there's multiple ways in all of these to go through. Like, how do you annihilate overwhelm or things like that. Different playbooks for different things, but given the fact that we're here, here's one thing that you can do if stress is right.
Well, typically, if I remember, like in the coaching sessions, what we'll do is like we'll go through all of them, book out like 2-3 hours, and like really dive down and figure it out. And we share with whoever the client is at the time. With like what we've seen in the industry of like, this is what causes mindset. Like, so it gets people to start being a bit more open, but starting when you've never done this is a great example of like
it's a minimum effective dose. Yes. Here's something really quickly we can give you because like you said, in those coaching sessions you're going to help us understand what is really going on. And we're going to run the appropriate playbook with you to help you work through that. So that you're developing a plan to deal with those things in the most effective way. We give you the framework. We give you the psychology and neuroscience framework to help, and then you run that. It's just basically like that's the Stoic stress reduction playbook. Mm-hmm. Is the same idea, right? We might talk a bit about more things and get a lot more context, but obviously if you're doing this at home, you can spend as much time on that as you want. Yeah. And that really is the key to identifying which things are keeping you from getting into flow state. Mm-hmm. And then what are the 10 primary flow blockers? And usually anything that you're experiencing will kind of filter into one of those 10 major categories. Mm-hmm. And then, how do you prioritize which is your top one? And then start to think about, okay, well, how would I do that? And if there's one that you are wanting to get help on, well, just send us a message in the comments. Just raise your hand and say, hey, me. You don't have to tell us what your flow blocker is, your flow blocker is, or maybe you do. Comment which one it is. And you know what? We'll reach out to you. And then we'll start a conversation and we'll work you through how you might want to start dealing with that. Yeah. So, but we want to hear when you hear this list, what comes to mind is your primary flow blocker, like one that keeps you getting into flow. Mm-hmm. And then I think next week, we'll talk about flow triggers and flow activities and things like that. Yep. All right. Anything else you want to add to that?
No, I think that's perfect.
Remember, managing your time like a CEO is bullshit. recap a couple things. One, don't get caught up in the fancy editing of a video. It doesn't necessarily mean the message is any better. You have to decipher what actually is important, what makes sense, and don't let the message get lost in the packaging, right? And vice versa. Don't discount a message if, let's just say, the packaging doesn't seem so good. Like, be better at understanding what the true intent of the message is, and start to what's that? I don't know what the better word is really kind of like try and test it out, what the message is, and think about it critically to say, does that actually make sense? Because when I hear like the time management, as having gone through all the stages, I'm like, guess what? Like, no time management. It wasn't until I understood, like we understood flow and the neuroscience of flow, that things really started to break apart. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes way more sense, because all these other things are still going to happen, but I can focus on the most important things, condense time frames, and that's the most important thing. And then as a result, I can then deal with all these other things that are going to be there, always there, and focus on, how to become a better leader, how do you build systems, all the other things that go along with that.
Exactly.
So, and then, so we give you the playbook of flow blockers, how to deal with those. And that's the most important thing, because without getting into flow, you're not going to be able to scale your biology to scale your business.
Exactly.
With that being said, we are BizMeds. My name is Darius.
And I'm Saad.
And we're your neuroscience business coaches here to give you always our best minimum effective dose to help you scale your biology, to scale your business. And if you've been with us since the beginning, like our mothers, mom, Saad's mom, love you. Thank you so much. And everyone else has been through us and watching the videos religiously. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. If you just your first video with us, thank you. Appreciate you spending a few minutes with us. Hopefully you learned something. If you did, you got to laugh, like, subscribe, share, anything you do. It's greatly appreciated. So, and if you haven't signed up for the Neuroscience Masterclass on how to reclaim 2 days a week, link is down below. We'll have another one coming up, coming soon, about how to actually figure out what your number one constraint is. We'll release that in the next couple coming weeks, probably early New Year, as we kind of iron out all the little background technology kinks. Yeah. And with that, remember, you're just 1 day away from the life you've always dreamed about. We're going to see you in the next episode.